People who eat breakfast at exactly the same time every morning have measurably different aging markers than people who don't. Not different diets, not different foods, just the clock. Researchers studying the longest-lived populations on Earth kept tripping over this same quiet detail, and for years they didn't quite know what to make of it. Here is what made it interesting. When scientists compared two groups of older adults eating roughly the same kinds of food, the group with consistent meal timing showed lower levels of certain inflammatory markers in their blood. Inflammation, as most people over 50 have heard by now, is the slow background fire that accelerates nearly every condition we associate with getting old. To understand why timing would matter at all, you have to know a little about something called the circadian system. Nearly every cell in your body runs on a roughly 24-hour internal clock. Your heart, your liver, your gut lining, they all have a sense of time, and they use the signals you give them, light, movement, and food, to set and reset that clock each day. When you eat at irregular times, breakfast at 7 one day, 10 the next, skipped entirely the day after, those peripheral clocks in your organs start getting mixed signals. Think of it like a small orchestra where every musician is reading from a slightly different score. The music still plays, but something is off. Over years and decades, that low-grade desynchrony appears to have real biological costs. The term researchers use is chrono-nutrition, the study of how the timing of eating interacts with our biology, separate from the nutritional content of the food itself. It is a relatively young field, which is part of why you may not have heard much about it from your doctor yet. But the findings have been consistent enough that it is starting to move from academic journals into clinical conversations. One large study following adults into their 70s and 80s found that those who ate their first meal within the same 30-minute window each morning had better scores on cognitive assessments over time. The researchers were careful not to claim that timing caused sharper thinking, but the association was strong enough to keep appearing even after they adjusted for sleep quality, exercise, and overall diet. Sleep is actually where the story starts the night before. Your cortisol level, which is one of the hormones that signals your body to wake and prepare for the day, begins rising in the early morning hours. When you eat breakfast at a consistent time, you are essentially confirming to your body that yes, the day has started, everything is running on schedule. Your digestive system, your metabolism, and your immune cells all receive that quiet confirmation together. When that confirmation is inconsistent or late, your metabolism can lag. Insulin sensitivity, how efficiently your cells respond to blood sugar, appears to be meaningfully better in the morning hours for most adults. Some research suggests that eating the same meal at 7 in the morning produces a different metabolic response than eating it at 11. Your body, it turns out, is not indifferent to the clock. Muscle is another piece of the picture that often surprises people. After around 60, the body becomes less efficient at building and maintaining muscle mass, a process researchers call anabolic resistance. Some evidence suggests that distributing protein earlier in the day, starting with breakfast, may support better muscle protein synthesis than saving the bulk of your eating for the evening. Consistent timing may reinforce that advantage day after day. Now, none of this means you need to eat the same breakfast at the stroke of 7 every single morning for the rest of your life and never deviate. The research is observational for the most part. It shows associations, not ironclad cause and effect. What it does suggest is that the body responds well to rhythm, and that the first meal of the day is one of the more powerful signals you can use to establish that rhythm. There is also something worth saying about the populations where this habit shows up naturally. In studies of communities with unusually high concentrations of people living into their 90s and beyond, structured meal times are almost universally present. Breakfast is not grabbed on the run. It is eaten at a table, at a predictable hour, often with other people. Whether it is the timing, the social ritual, or the combination is genuinely hard to untangle, but the pattern is there. Social eating, it turns out, has its own body of evidence. People who share regular meals with others tend to have lower reported stress, better appetite regulation, and in some longitudinal studies, lower rates of cognitive decline. If consistent breakfast timing is also consistent breakfast company, even just a partner, a neighbour, or a regular phone call, the benefit may compound in ways the clock alone cannot explain. So what does a practical takeaway actually look like? Not a rigid prescription, but a direction. Pick a breakfast window that fits your real life, somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes wide, and aim to land inside it most mornings. Not every morning perfectly, but most. The body rewards consistency more than precision. Small, repeatable habits are what the evidence keeps pointing toward. It is also worth mentioning what to eat, at least in broad strokes, since timing and content are not entirely separate questions. A breakfast that includes some protein, some fibre, and is not dominated by rapidly digested sugar tends to produce a steadier metabolic morning. Not because of any single food, but because that kind of meal works with the insulin sensitivity advantage your body offers you in those early hours. If you have a condition that affects your appetite, your digestion, or your medication schedule, your doctor is the right person to talk with before you make any changes to when or how you eat. This is true especially if you are managing blood sugar, taking medications that interact with food, or working through any digestive issues. The timing conversation is worth having with someone who knows your full picture. What the research keeps returning to is a theme that runs through almost every area of healthy aging. The body does better with predictability than with chaos. It is not glamorous advice. There is no dramatic intervention here, no supplement, no protocol. Just a clock and a habit. But the people who seem to age most gracefully are often the ones who have quietly built their days around small, consistent anchors. And breakfast, it turns out, may be one of the most powerful anchors of all.